beam of light.
Yeah, that's me every time.
I'm trying to get it centered so that the
I
light.
got these two lights that shine perfectly down. The glare bad?
It's all right. I mean, it's not like it's however mine looks. It's the same, you know.
Yeah.
I got the blurred background going on though. A little more high tech. It's funny those. I feel like the virtual backgrounds on like Zoom or Meets or whatever are always just so tacky looking. It reminds me of like, I don't know, it just reminds me of like a dollhouse and you're just like in the foreground.
About the virtual backgrounds of like the brand, like when they have the brand in the background.
I haven't seen too many of those.
No?
No. They just put their brand. I've seen a couple.
Yeah, it's just like a green screen of the brand in the background.
I remember watching this. I forget what it was. I think it was like a court situation, like a viral video years ago where the guy was like testifying or something virtually, and he had like a filter on, and he was like a fish or something, and the judge was like, "Sir, sir, excuse me."
Yeah, just making sure we're live here on all platforms. Yeah, well, anybody just joining, this is first time joining us. We go live every single Wednesday, 7:00 or a couple minutes after. And we, answer all your questions, Amazon questions, anything you guys have, happy to answer it. We also dive into some sourcing strategies, how we find target brands, profitable brands to work with, when we develop outreach strategies around them. So if you guys are joining us for the first time, tune in every Wednesday. We're live 7:00 Eastern time. And yeah, I feel like, the Q4 craze, at least in terms of getting inventory into Amazon, is behind us at this point.
Yeah, so it was pretty much the last week. Last week was pretty much the last week. That's for seasonal stuff. Obviously, we still have, the normal everyday stuff that's going into Amazon. But as far as all the seasonal things, yeah. I mean, what was that? Because I read a little bit of it, the thing you had sent me earlier today about the changes being made or something to fulfillment or something. I don't know if that's something to speak on or if you know enough about that yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just saw a post on it. It was related to the Amazon's fulfillment networks and how they're switching into cross-dock fulfillment centers, and basically encouraging in the sense of getting your inventory checked in faster. Optimized is gonna get it checked in faster. If you're forcing everything to one location, inbound placement fee, minimal split, your inventory is probably gonna check in slower. Apparently the most optimal is full truckload optimized, and
full truckload.
We got to be doing some serious volume for that to make sense.
That's 5 trucks like that?
Yeah, full truckload optimized. That's what Pattern's doing with their program. But like in terms of check-in time, that you're not going to be able to beat that. But I mean, that's reserved for, probably top 100 Amazon sellers, because you got to be doing some serious volume to be shipping full truckloads optimized.
Yeah. I mean, we've noticed on a smaller scale, like SPD, sending optimized has been a faster check-in time, substantially. Like we were talking about, I mean, even I think the date that, because today is the 13th of November, Amazon was saying like, I think it was 15th on was going to be heavier check-in times. And obviously West Coast has been, we've been getting that banner message on Seller Central that West Coast has been more crowded, but just in general, the check-in times have been faster than I think past years for SPD, which is a good thing. Usually we're on the other end of the spectrum where we're talking how things are slower or worse or whatever it is. But I think this year's been a little bit better for SPD.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed at some of the check-in times. I was worried about it, but it's checking in super fast. And that post that I saw today was consistent with what we've been saying for the past 2 months, which is like LTL is just out the window, at this point in terms of check-in time. If you're shipping a one DC, it's just like if you're going for seasonal items, like, you're just going to have to pay more to ship UPS than LTL at this point in the game. And even, a couple weeks ago, we stopped shipping LTL.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it in, the early months, like beginning of October, and you see stuff that hasn't checked in until middle of September, if not later, then there's just no shot. I mean, if you're looking at, if you ship stuff out yesterday, it wouldn't get there till after Christmas. So
yeah,
that's check in. I mean, you got to give yourself time to allow things to sell through as well. It's not just like when it checks in, it sells, Ideally it does, but
yeah, no, exactly. So if you guys have any questions, drop them here in the chat. Happy to answer them. And we can dive here into Smart Scout just for a little bit, see if we could find a couple target brands. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. You able to see my screen?
Yep.
Alrighty, perfect. Yeah, Lego just popped up here and it brought back memories, but it's crazy the hard gate on Lego now. Made so much money on Lego, in past Q4s, and it's just like, not that we were really expecting to make anything on Lego at this point in the game. That was mostly COVID driven, but it's crazy.
Yeah, things can just change on a dime. That's the thing. I don't know if that's, I was talking about that with someone the other day, whether that is a decision that Amazon is making or a decision that driven by Lego. Like, how does that work? For like, how does that work? Who's driving that? Because I don't know.
Like collaboration.
Think so. Question here says, Smart Scout, what subscription services do you have? Is essential enough? It just depends on what your needs are. I forget what the names are, but the third tier of it, where it's like 100 and something, 190 a month or something like that, whatever the price is. Don't quote me on that. But the third tier before the enterprise just gives you things like the ability to download Excels with keywords and things like that. So if you're just looking at sourcing, basic sourcing, I would say that the intro versions of Smart Scout are good. But if you're looking at things like for more brand building and just more intensive research, then I would say to get the higher level tiers. I mean, it's an unbelievably powerful program. So it just depends on what your needs are. But you'll see in the website itself, when you click on things, it will ask you to upgrade based on what your plan is and what you can and can't access.
Yeah. And we have a code you might be able to save some money on. We'll drop it here in the chat as we move along. Here.
Yeah, you could just, if you're subscribing online, you just put in Operation AMZ as the code.
So when we jump into Smart Scout here, we set a basic filter criteria. And for us, that means we're going to target smaller to medium-sized brands. So we're looking somewhere in the range of 20,000 to maybe 200, 250,000 in monthly revenue with an average number of sellers of 2. And then we just, go ahead and, I'll set a minimum price usually of $9. And then we'll just go ahead and hit search. So keeping it super generic, not really specifying too niche. We want to keep our search broad. We don't want to discriminate from one category to another. And from here, we'll just sort of scroll through. And right now we have 5,000 items that are populating here. So as we're scrolling through here, we're looking through each of these categories and just, sort of getting an idea of brand name. Sometimes I'll gravitate towards a brand name that might be a little bit more obscure, or niche, or something that you might not have heard of every day. We'll look in the subcategory, again, niche, obscure, something, I always say the riches are in the niches, and looking at this subcategory, just taking a glance at it, you might be able to find some opportunity here. And then we'll look at the average number of sellers, which will, there's many different scenarios where we might look at, if there's under 10 sellers, we might target that to purchase the product directly and compete with those other sellers. If it's over 10 or 15 or 20, we might target that brand to actually reach out to them and provide value, because then they have a distribution problem. So, there's tons and tons of different metrics that we're looking at here as we're scrolling.
Yeah, and you can filter all those out too on the right as well. If you click on that filter thing, right where the monthly revenue, keep going to the right. There you go. So you can just filter it out as well by there, by brand, by category, all that stuff in addition to that.
Yeah, so I'll just, scroll here and let me know if you're seeing anything as we're scrolling through.
What's that Ranger one?
Low selling prices here.
Up top, what was that second listing? Oh, 712, yeah. Yeah, so generally we'll stay away from stuff like this just in general, because there's not much room to work with. If you have a price fluctuation or Amazon fees change, or you're getting the product for, and there's not much to work with. So we stay away from things like this. Plus Amazon's on a listing as well. And you can filter that out as well. If you're using Smart Scout, you could filter the percentage of the time that Amazon is on the listing. You can see in that fourth column over, it says Amazon in stock rate. You can actually filter that out, as well as sort by, percentage. Personally, when I do it, I like to filter it out as 0. Obviously, you can have Amazon on the listing as long as they're not competitive or involved, maintaining the buy box or chasing the sellers down. But I just like to not take any chances with that kind of stuff for the most part. Like with a brand like that Soothe Health and Household brand right there. I mean, you're looking at Amazon in stock 86% of the time. That's not something that I would even consider. I mean, we could take a look at it if we wanted to see if they're competitive, but just better to go buy it.
So I'll just, click on a couple brands, see if there's anything here we could find.
There's a sports drink named Pickle Juice.
I've heard of that brand before, actually.
Oh, is that what it is? It's just like pickle juice?
I think so. Yeah, they were actually at the Fancy Food Show.
Really?
Yeah.
One thing this is so pickling something is the act of like it's like a verb. Like to pickle something is like to do that action to an item. So you can pickle like a bunch of stuff. Why do they call cucumbers that are pickled pickles? That's been my question. Is it just because it was the first thing that was pickled? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. Because I've always wondered that. Why don't they call something else a pickle? Because you can pickle other stuff. And why do they call it pickleball?
I think I lost you.
I lost myself. I'm confused. There are certain categories we do stay away from, like books and things like that.
Yeah. See, I always gravitate towards high average selling prices. Like this is the first thing. Yes, Amazon in stock 66% of the time, but I just want to look at something that's selling for almost $1,000. I want to see what's going on there because the margins, could just explode your business when we're talking about that kind of average selling price. And for anybody saying, because a lot of people are thinking things that sell at those kinds of prices are going to get.
What about the returns?
The returns. What about the returns? Tell them what happens with our returns on 3-figure sell price products.
Yeah, I mean, generally, whenever you have anything that's more expensive like this, you want to have some sort of agreement in place with the manufacturer or the brand that you're either paying for a replacement and breaking even on it, or you are just getting a complete one-to-one for every item that comes in defective or damaged or something like that. So it's a loss-free model when you do it that way. That's Bonsai in Atlanta. They're huge. It's like the slip and slide. That's crazy. You ever see those things? That first thing. I think I've said I wanted to do that knocker ball. You know what that is?
No.
Where you dress up in the inflatable thing and you just run at each other. I think that's what that was. Seymour Duncan.
Yeah. I've seen that before, yeah.
Those are crazy. I've seen people get hit by like bulls with that.
Yeah.
Okay, goes into
so I've gotten here in a mode now. Oops, this doesn't even exist, but I've gotten here in a mode now of high ASPs.
Yeah.
On our last live, we found a brand called Shearwater Research, who I actually contacted and had no success with. They had a very strict policy. It looked like it was pretty decent, but the suspected point of contention was the industry specificity, because when I looked on the listings, even though they had 20, 30 sellers on the listings, and we could even look that brand up just, if anybody wasn't on that live last time, because it was a good brand, good product, good brand. But, I suspected this when I reached out to them, because all of the sellers on the listings are dive shops. And even though they have a lot of sellers on Amazon, they don't care. They want all of those dive shops to be able to sell on Amazon. So there's not really, a strategic advantage in this sort of scenario that we would have been able to provide them. And a lot of times you'll see that, brands are just so geared towards industry specificity that it's just not even worth the battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I like to take the perspective, I actually did with a brand today, about just the ability for your industry specific things to support industry specific brick and mortars, and then Amazon specific to support Amazon. And sometimes they're receptive to that in the sense of like, that's what they're focused on, is they're focused on their dive shops. We're focused on Amazon and, treating it from that perspective and supporting the brick and mortars. But some brands just don't want to listen, obviously.
Yeah, that's about where they were at. So something like this, will immediately X out because it looks to be some sort of a private label, one seller on all the listings or an exclusive. So we'll close out of there. It's a vacuum. This looks like some sort of Chinese product.
I was just going to say it looks like something that's like a foreign product. You can just tell by the listing, like by the picture.
Yeah.
Seymour Duncan's huge. It's a guitar brand. Bakugan. Remember those?
Yeah. Actually pitched this brand a while ago.
Yeah.
Remember? I saw them. Yeah, it's a great kind of a product because, it's people are just consistently ordering something like this.
Yeah, it's a replenishable. But also we just talked about the average sell price, but with something like that, the volume is so great, it makes up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, on something that's like crazy volume, we can go down below that $9 mark.
Mm-hmm. It's that Buckley uses that larger brand, or is that?
Tons of sellers on it, 50-something sellers.
Could even be an arbitrage product.
Yeah. Could be. Not in love with the whole OTC category. Listing looks pretty well optimized, so probably not even a lot of value we could provide.
Yeah, it's a skip right there.
Let's see if we can grab a brand that might be of interest here. Spot Shot. Yeah, I'm immediately closing that out just because the hazmat. And I mean, it's just tough. You're selling a 2-pack 14 ounce for $20 and it's hazmat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd pass on that immediately. For those that don't know that are watching, as far as why we would stay away from something in that case, hazmat, you can't use a partnered carrier for shipping. So your shipping is going to be more expensive, as well as you have to be part of the program, the hazmat program, which we are, but it brings your profit margin way down, makes things more expensive. And it's just logistically a little more difficult. There's more hoops you have to jump through with like shipping and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of larger brands in here, and that's partially due to the revenue, monthly revenue, because we're still in the 150,000. We're filtered from top to bottom.
Yeah, and as you're going through this, if you're not seeing something that's, you can very easily go right back here and cut this down to 100,000. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Narrow your search a little bit.
Yeah, and then even the other way, like it's 20 to 100 in this case, so you can actually sort on the right column, sort the estimated monthly revenue, and do it the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So then naturally, you're still looking at brands that have the volume, but it's naturally going to be probably smaller brands in this area, which, I mean, this is monthly revenue, so it's still a lot. 20,000 a month is still a considerable. I mean, you figure 20,000 a month, you could be making $4,000 or $5,000 profit as an exclusive. I mean, it could be 60, 70, 80,000 a year, on a brand like this profit.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize, how much money you can make on small brands.
Yeah.
Small, it's all relative. And that's honestly where I would recommend a lot of beginners start, doing brand direct wholesale is target brands that are in this smaller caliber range. You're going to have a much easier time getting to somebody on the phone that you can actually persuade or get a decision maker on the phone, rather than, trying to cut through a lot of different people with the larger brands.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, where it's like you're not going to close a brand that's outside your caliber. So starting small and learning.
Yeah. Just keep scrolling through here. If you're seeing anything.
Let's look at that. Paradise Tea one right there. It's a high ASP on that.
Yeah.
It's nice. I like this already. Click on that one.
$62 for a tea bag. Pack of 50.
All right, so this is hitting every mark right off the rip.
Yeah. It's not crazy volume, but, it's decent for...
one listing.
Decent. Looks like they only got one competitive FBA seller on it. Two here, but he's only got one in stock. So I mean, this could potentially be, product of interest, I would absolutely
Mhm.
reach out to this brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like looking at it, it's hitting every mark.
Yeah, so on a brand like this, this is a good brand to look at if you're a beginner. A brand like this, because you're not talking crazy volume, right? This listing's moving 300 units a month. There was maybe one or two other listings, so you're not talking crazy volume. You're talking very low competition, a handful of sellers, only one real competitive prime seller. So this could be a good product and a brand to reach out to as a beginner. And there's also a value add that you could potentially provide based on what we're seeing with the listing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a complete layup. I mean, like there's, I'm not saying that it's a layup in terms of like getting the account, but I'm saying that just based on all of the information that is being shown to us in this listing right here, I mean, every single thing from the sell price to the pictures to the lack of all the content to the sellers, like everything is pointing towards this is a really good brand to reach out to. To the fluctuation in price, you have a lot of ammunition, a lot of things in your corner if you were to contact them.
Yeah, and it's a grocery product. It's a replen, so no returns, and this could potentially be a really good brand to contact. They have no listing optimization really. So anybody watching, this is a good example of a brand that you should contact.
Yeah.
That meets these different sort of criteria: low amount of sellers, strong average selling price. It's obviously a smaller product, 50 pack of 1 ounce filter packs. So your fees aren't going to be too high. Listing not optimized.
I mean, it's not even being stocked correctly. I mean, we're looking at it right here. I mean, Keep is showing a 286 stock, and it's selling between 300 to 400 units a month. Whatever that is. And so, I mean, they're stocking. They only have maybe 3 weeks of inventory right now. So,
yeah,
that's another point. I don't know if there hasn't been any stock out, so they've probably been keeping up with it. But I mean, even if you're looking at 62, let's say it's selling 350 units a month, it's 21,700 gross revenue. And if you're doing a 10% net margin on that as an exclusive, this is a 2,170 times 12. This is a $26,000 profit a year listing at a 10% margin. If it's selling 350 sales a month, so like, it just goes to show you, it's like you get 2-3 of those. I mean, that's a normal working person's salary.
Yeah, and I think the 10% is pretty conservative. You probably make more on something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You got low fees, light, small.
Sorry, comment here on Instagram says can't hear you. I don't know if our audio is all right. Let me actually check. Got anything going on got audio on Instagram?
I don't know.
No.
You're coming through just fine on my end.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and so you call up the brand, right? You have the listing up on your screen, and it's like, what's the first thing you say?
Are you asking?
That's what a lot of people are going to ask, right? They found a brand. There's, it's potentially a brand of interest. I call them, and what is the first thing that I'm going to say?
Oh, what's the first thing? I thought you were saying what's the first thing that you say when you see the listing? Yeah, I mean, all of the interactions start exactly the same. Sorry, I'm just checking if we have audio on. Yeah, audio on Twitter. That's interesting. I'm just throwing the Twitter link on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, the first thing that you say when you talk to the brand, it starts out like any other brand that you talk to, whether it's going to be your most profitable account ever, or they're going to just tell you no. It's, who you are, what you do, and what you're looking to do with their products. So, I mean, you always want to show some form of legitimacy, talking about how you're stocking and shipping their product, and that you're looking to open up a wholesale account. And then you're going to play off of what they have to say and their emotions and their reactions, and just gather information. The more you can listen to them and their responses, and the more you can keep them talking, the better that you're going to do in terms of persuading them to open an account. You want to get a price list. That's your first goal. And then, if there's objections to that, you want to know how to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, there's a question here. Why don't you like the OTC category? That's supplements, correct? So OTC is, over the counter. It's more like like cough medicine or different products like that. It's just more regulatory. There's issues. It's more likely that you might run into issues with Amazon's restricted product policy. There's just, FDA regulations and things of that nature. So we try to avoid where there's more red tape categories like that.
Yeah, the TOS, the terms of service, is crazy for, for that, the restrictions. Stay away from the lean.
Stay away from what?
Stay away from the lean. No cough medicine.
Oh,
yeah, just in general, anything that's relating to I mean, you can look it up. Look up the Amazon restricted product policies, and you can look at all of them. You should look at all of them and familiarize yourself with the products that you're selling. Make sure it's not restricted, but look at the ones for over-the-counter medications and the bullet points and everything. It's just so intensive. It's better to just stay away from it, because most every product on Amazon probably doesn't meet those guidelines.
yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Somebody else asked, how's everything going on in the business? Do you already feel a rush based on the Q4 sales? Let's pick it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not crazy yet. I think it just feels like the whole season is backed up a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that's the case every year. It feels like it just keeps getting shifted back. Pretty soon there's going to be Christmas in January. But yeah, no, we're starting to pick up. I mean, once Thanksgiving hits and Black Friday, we're going to start really ramping up. So definitely looking forward to that. It's so nice to see the inventory sell. You buy the inventory, you make the decisions, you place the booking orders, not 6-9 months in advance, and it's then they just start going, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. We got, again, same thing. We got no audio on Instagram. So anyone that's watching on Instagram, I just keep dropping in the link for the Twitter broadcast, and there you can take a look on there. This is how we funnel everybody to Twitter.
Funnel them to YouTube, man.
Yeah, but you handle the YouTube, so I gotta get the competitive advantage.
Another question here. Would you guys source the website too for Paradise Tea and share what you think?
I think he's talking about going to their actual website.
Yeah, so we would just go on the website and find the contact information.
Yeah,
really didn't do much.
In that, just clarify that question a little bit if you could.
Yeah, I mean, we would just go to the website, find the contact information, call them up and say we're interested in opening a wholesale account. It's that simple. Really wouldn't do much research ahead of time. Wouldn't be scrolling through the website or anything like that. All I would do is Control F the word contact, click on it, and give them a call. It's that simple.
Yeah, everything starts from the Amazon page itself. So that's one of the things that, whether it's training a VA, whether it's someone that's new to sourcing product from a price list, whatever it is, everything starts from Amazon itself. So all of your products, you don't look on the website and then try and match the products on the website or the price list to the products on Amazon. You start on Amazon and then try to match the products on Amazon to other products like that the company has. So Amazon is always your starting point, if that makes sense. So we're not like sourcing the company's website. We're searching the brand name in general on Amazon and then trying to find the products that are selling well from the brand. Question here says, how much percentage margin is an average for a brand direct wholesale model?
Yeah, so I just put the link to our Smart Scout here in the chat. If any of you guys want to save a little bit of money to sign up for Smart Scout. But average percentage profit margin in brand direct wholesale or wholesale in general, you're probably looking at a good gross margin is going to be about 15%, good target gross margin, and then it breaks down from there based on your net or based on your overhead expenses. Depending on what kind of the size of the business that you're running, how many employees you have and what if you have a warehouse and different things like that, so the net will break down from there, but generally in the 10 to 15% range is healthy for a wholesale business. Again, depends on the size of the business though. Wholesale is by nature a lower margin business than a lot of other businesses. It's based on volume. So you make up for that with the product volume that you're moving. You're turning your inventory quicker than other business models too, like private label. But with private label, you're getting way higher margins.
Mm-hmm.
And then another question here: any recommendations to learn how to optimize brands?
Do you have a YouTube video on that at all? Because that would actually be a great topic to do a YouTube video on. If not,
like how to optimize the listing, you mean?
Yeah, we always talk about like optimization and stuff, and obviously we explain it on here, but just components might be a good idea for the future to put out a YouTube video on that or something.
Yeah. Yeah. The blueprint video will break all that down.
Yeah, sure.
I could go ahead and link that video, but as far as optimizing for brands, it's really the emphasis for brands should be the vision, not the vehicle. The vehicle is what you're going to do for the brands.
Mm-hmm.
It's the listing optimization, it's the images, it's the titles, the A+ content, the advertising. The vision is growing sales, is building a more cohesive presence on Amazon, is cleaning up their pricing, is growing a successful brand image. Those are the things you want to really focus on pitching the brands. And all the way you're going to get there is you're going to get there through the listing optimization, through the PPC and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Set out the blueprint before you start building the house. You want to understand why they're doing things.
Yeah. And also, when running a PPC campaign, do you use the own brand money or do you run based on your profits? That's a good question. That's totally dependent on the margins and everything. It's case by case. If it's a super high caliber exclusive account, we'll definitely be contributing some sort of an ad budget. If you're just a reseller of a lot of other resellers, probably not going to be contributing to that ad budget. That's probably going to be their responsibility if you're competing with a boatload of other sellers. But there's definitely many different ways to structure it, and a lot of that is case by case.
I just somehow managed to. I'm lucky. My Wi-Fi router is actually plugged into a different outlet, but I just somehow managed to shut off my entire power strip with my foot. That turned off my desktop and everything else that's on my desk right now. And the only things that are not on that power strip are my Wi-Fi router and my laptop. So I almost disconnected just now. I don't even know how I did it. I have no idea how I did that.
We almost said goodbye. But yeah, I've done that like 1,000 times. My thing is right underneath my foot. But as far as the PPC, there's a lot of ways to structure it. PPC is a great value add for brands because you can talk about all kinds of things. Ads increase sales. It's that simple. But there's a lot more to it than just that. There's digital real estate. There's garnering a more brand equity in the Amazon marketplace here. There's taking and stealing market share from competition, and all things that you can do through Amazon ads.
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually I was going to follow that up with just whether it's in-house or whether it's, hired agency. And, you can do both. I think it just depends on what your skill set looks like, the size of your business is, whatever is most effective for the brand.
Yeah. I would say if you have no skills in it and you have a good deal with a brand, it's probably a good idea to outsource that to an agency of some kind.
Yeah, it depends how responsible you are to the brand too, because it's like you need to, if it's a private label-esque type of deal where you have, the ability to kind of just get the results that you want and perform as best as you can, then you might want to experiment yourself. But if it's something like where you're responsible to perform to the brand, then you might want to outsource to make sure you get those results that you need.
Yeah.
It's interesting there. So comment there, Paradise Tea is a part of Smucker, so it's a big brand. The only way to get through is the distributor, as there's no direct site. Yeah, so there's things that's a good point that put in there. In that case, it might be something that we might want to pivot and I don't know, maybe contact them through the distributor. Change the plan of attack if it's a large brand. Usually, large brands like that don't have a horrible presence, as bad as that one at least.
Yeah, and the idea of looking at a brand like that is not necessarily to say, all right, let's contact Paradise Tea. It's to model the concept and then mimic that over and over again. So we have a brand, right? Paradise Tea, with a nice high selling price of $60+ with only 2 or 3 sellers on the listing, sells consistent at around 300 to 400 units a month, non-optimized listing. So it's checking all the boxes, right? It's checking all the boxes for a beginner, and maybe it's not Paradise Tea, but there's hundreds and thousands of other brands just like that right through on Smart Scout. So, in terms of developing a sourcing strategy, that's a perfect brand to model what you might look at for a target brand.
Yeah, and it could still be a transactional purchase too. Like you could still go through a distributor as long as they're authorized and purchase transactionally and make money on selling the product. Like we always talk about things like optimization and pitching and the higher level stuff, but not to say that a lot of the majority of your accounts can just be purchased from brands that you're authorized to sell and still make a ton of money on that and not necessarily provide that brand with value just selling the product. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, that's, you could probably scale that faster than you could with brand direct, because brand direct, it's a little bit higher of a barrier to entry. But, we work with distributors, we work with importers, plenty of different businesses where we're providing, there's no value that we're providing. It's just, we're making money on their products, and the value is that we're placing orders every month,
Yeah. You know what I always wanted as a kid that I don't know if Smucker makes it. I think that they do. Do you remember well, actually, you're allergic, so probably not. But the peanut butter and jelly that was like in the same jar, but it had like both the peanut butter and the jelly in it. You remember what I'm talking about? Like the striped thing. Did you ever see that in the grocery store?
I think I might have seen that. Yeah.
It's like I don't know, like I never got that as a kid, but I always wanted it. I don't know. I think it was like it probably was no different than just like regular peanut butter and jelly. I think it was the aesthetic. I wanted I think Smucker makes that.
They still make it?
I think so. I don't know. I'll take a look next time. We'll report back next next Wholesale Wednesday. That'll be the cliffhanger.
All right. Well, that's a good note to, I think, close out on here. We're coming up on an hour, and we'll leave you with a cliffhanger on that peanut butter and jelly. But if you guys are just tuning in, for the first time, or if you're rejoining us, as some of you are, thanks for joining. We go live every Wednesday, try to provide you guys with a bunch of value. We love answering the Amazon questions and teaching you guys how we source and do outreach. So tune in Wednesdays, 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll see you there. And if you're watching on YouTube, hitting the like button does help support the channel. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.